All right, taking a look at oil right now. It's down 74 cents. It's in and out of that $45 a barrel level. That brings it back to levels we have not seen since March. And a lot of that has to do with the feeling that's beginning to be a consensus now that this Iranian deal does go through. The president is speaking about that now at American University in Washington. And one of the things that goes through with that deal, if it should occur, is Iran gets 2 million more barrels a day of oil on the market. Some say that will flood the market, a lot more supply, relatively tepid demand, and send things down much, much further south. But that is just the tip of the proverbial bad deal iceberg for this former ambassador who says, bottom line, it's a bad deal, period. He represented our fine country in Bahrain. He's Adam Ereli. He joins us right now on the phone. Ambassador, we are already clearly seeing the markets, I think, factoring in an approved deal. I know that it would be rejected by Congress, but not by a margin that could overcome a presidential veto. So I think the markets are taking the next logical leap, the oil markets among them, to say, well, oil prices got to go lower because we're going to see a lot more Iranian oil. They take it as a given that this thing is a done deal. Do you?
As you said, Congress will not. Congress may reject it, but not with a majority sufficient to override a presidential veto. It will take effect. Iran, presuming that it does what it's supposed to do in the first 6 months of the agreement, will be able to sell oil and get revenue from that, and then the cat is out of the bag.
All right, so that's the economic interest. Others fear that, all that money that they get with these assets that suddenly get unfrozen, it's tens of billions of dollars, that they're going to put that to all sorts of nefarious uses. The bigger issue for you is this argument that the president has used, and he's using it again, that there is no alternative to this deal, that the alternative would be essentially war, and that those arguing against it are essentially welcoming that. Do you buy that?
No, I don't. And, what I find interesting is the irony of him comparing this to the decision to go to war to Iraq. If you'll remember, back in 2003, when the Republican administration, was trying to convince the American people that if we don't go to war against Saddam Hussein, we're all going to die, said, better that we go in there. They've got nuclear weapons. They've got nuclear pipes. If we don't go in there and take them out, we'll be, they're going to use it against us. And Obama's using the same kind of rhetoric. It's either war or this deal. Neither, when you get into that kind of extreme argumentation, you are doing a disservice to the public. The fact of the matter is this: Iran is like any other country. They respond to carrots and sticks. Right now, we're giving them all carrots and no sticks. I don't agree that only sticks are going to work, but you've got to have a combination of incentives and disincentives to good behavior. And this deal is long on incentives, very short on disincentives.
And to compare to John Kennedy at a time, of course, he was riding high on a foreign policy success months after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that there were verifiable means by which we would check the Soviets on keeping to an agreement that we'd both abide by. That's apples and oranges, isn't it? I mean, first of all, there was no 24-day waiting period before we could check up, or that a third party would check up. So I don't know where that comparison was sound.
Let's be clear, sir. The overriding logic of the Cold War was mutually assured destruction. Everything, all negotiations were premised on the alternative is the destruction of both our countries. Iran, none of that obtains in this situation. So that's mistaken comparison number two. Mistaken comparison number one. Mistaken comparison number two is to call Iran a superpower, for God's sake. I mean, this is a tin-pot Islamic dictatorship that happens to be a regional hegemon, but is not a global hegemon. Why are we elevating these guys to the status of superpower? It's a huge mistake.
That is well put. I said that is very well put. Ambassador, thank you very, very much. But that comparison has been made, and to the ambassador's point, doesn't resonate, doesn't register. But again, this is for a very select crowd, my friends. This is for those few Democrats who are still on the fence, and the president wants to keep on his side.